Hi, Dip Ones. So this is just a rundown of the assessment on the budget. So putting together a financial budget for project of your choice, really. So it could be a tournament that you're wishing to host. It could be a tour that you wish to take a team on. It could be a club, so a sports club where you're balancing the books. Could be the event, the website that you guys put together for the brand new sport. So it might be putting together a balance sheet or a budget around that. So your choice. Groups of one, if you wish, individual, or up to three, so two or three um, you can do. So, firstly, you need to do a little bit of a background. So, tell us a little bit about your project or the activity, where it's going to happen, what's its purpose. So, if it's a tour, it might be sort of a warm up for a national tournament, it could be a development tournament to grow players, etc. Um, Key personnel, so people that will be involved, obviously players, maybe a manager, coach, assistant, etc. And relevant financial information, so where you expect the funds to come from and how you would expect to obtain them. So it could be things like grants, sponsors, fundraising activities, maybe some money come from memberships or from the players, etc. So how is the income going to be made up, and then probably a little bit about what you would expect the expenses to be. So what sorts of things you're going to be paying for. So goals and objectives. So you're setting out a goal for the project. So what as I sort of mentioned before, is it about um, building relationships with another part of the country or another country, or kind of an exchange maybe, or as I said, a warm up for a larger tournament, so a tour and then come back to a national tournament. It might be a school thing, so it might be around developing school players, or an exchange with another school, etc. So what are your goals? What's the purpose? And then talk about your financial goals as well. So do you want the project to break even, or are you running an event to make money? So is it, some sort of cycling event or triathlon or something where you're charging entry fees and you're wanting it to make some money for you? So are we delivering a profit, or are we breaking even, etc.? So what do you want to achieve with that? So if you're talking about an existing organization, then it might be that maybe they're already having financial issues. So it might be around getting them out of financial issues. So maybe raising extra money to get them back to even again, or making a profit. So what you need to do is research. So you need to show a little bit of research around similar events that have been run in the past. How were they run? Were they able to achieve their objective, make money, etc.? So whatever you come up with, you'll need to do a little bit of digging and just find out what similar events or similar activities have achieved. So this section is around the issues, opportunities, and threats. So what sorts of things could derail what you're trying to do? So could it be that if you applied for a grant and you got turned down for it, how would you make up that income? So what are the things that that you need to be sort of thinking about or aware of, um, that that could pose an issue for you financially and to be able to run the event? So example here, so you're applying for funding but may not get it. So you need to identify a backup plan. So if funding falls through, is there other fundraising, other backup plans, getting a bank loan or something? What's up your sleeve if things turn to custard? So prepare a budget report. So this report will show your proposed budget and justify or explain it in relation to previous budgets. So what I'll do is I'll put some previous budgets up in the teams. So if you look at the academic skills teams and in the files, and then under the budgeting folder, I'll put some spreadsheets in there that show you what it should look like, what you need to include. So your income, so where you're getting your income from, totaled up, and then your expenses, what your expenses are, whether it's accommodation, travel, food, etc., and that totaled up, and then the difference will be under or over, plus or minus, in terms of your balance and your balance sheet. So you need to justify, so you need to put in some justification there, comparing it with existing or prior budget. So from previous year, from a previous actual similar activity. So you need to justify why you're looking at those particular amounts of money. So if you're booking travel, booking accommodation, etc., that's pretty easy to do. So you can get some costs off the internet, go to, I don't know, Webjet or for your airfares, or Trivago or something like that for accommodation. So you've got some evidence in terms of those sorts of costs. So just with the Excel, so Excel is obviously the Microsoft spreadsheet. You could use Sheets, which is the Google. So the Google Doc version is Sheets. If you need any extra help, so you can pick apart the ones that I put on Teams, but if you need any help with any of those formulas, then get in touch. I'll actually put a link as well to YouTube, to a YouTube video that will help you out with that as well. So implications, so we talked about the risks in section 3. So if we don't get the funding or we don't get enough members, how would that affect our planning? So what are your strategies for mitigating or reducing the risk? So what are your backup plans? And I mentioned maybe before backup loans or other fundraising events that you can employ. Might be charging each person going in the party a little bit more. So just thinking about, something like children that are underprivileged perhaps, or are going to a low decile school, don't have a lot of money to go on a trip. So thinking about, a good thing might be to get them away on a tour or something like that. And you'd want to have, the cost for them financially as low as you can. So it might be a good little project to have, minor costs for those involved in having fundraising activities for them to do, etc. So it's not about, getting one big fat grant, one big fat loan, one big fat donation. So I know it's, theoretical, but thinking about what other areas could you sort of tap into, maybe sponsorships, supermarkets, etc. All right, so once you've nailed all that, that's pretty much the guts of it. Your supporting evidence must be attached. So if you visited websites, accommodation, some food costs, maybe equipment costs are going on to Super Sport or Rebel Sport or something like that. If you need to take away equipment, sports equipment, bags, look up uniforms. So if you've got traveling uniforms, etc., you'll need to put in some costs for that sort of thing as well. So just quickly over the rubric. pretty straightforward, really. So 5 marks awarded per task. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tasks there, so 40 marks. And you can have a look through this, obviously, in your own time, but the background, so describing the context, location, purpose, people, financial situation. So doing it realistically and making it relevant is worth 5 marks. Your goals and objectives includes overall objective and your financial one, whether you want to break even or make money, etc. So consistency there with supporting evidence. Again, might give you 5. Financial issues, constraints or risks. So if something falls over, what are the risks that you've identified? And then the budget is your spreadsheet. So setting it out well, setting out the different categories, putting in the sort of realistic figures that are well researched, and then setting it out nicely. And then you're justifying your budget. So maybe citing some other tours, maybe the tours that you've been involved with, or tours that you can access figures for, or different activities that have been run. We can, you can probably do some research into some council run activities or Sport Canterbury activities. I can certainly put you in touch with some people that could help in that area if that's an area you want to look at. So discussion around what would happen and evaluated. So are they sorts of things that could happen and need to be accounted for in relation to goals and objectives? Would it affect maybe how long you could go for or how many people you could take? That might be a consideration as well. And then looking at solutions. So what would reduce the risk? Maybe collecting a little bit more money in the kitty as backup, or having another sponsor in the wings, or whatever it is that you decide will help reduce. It's generally going to be a financial risk, or there might be some other areas you could look at there as well in terms of risk assessment. So supporting evidence, that's just including all your sources. So we did talk about that, didn't we? So copies of websites, etc., that you visited. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Go to it, and we'll be catching up as the days go by and see how you are progressing. Cheers.